We have two more Game 6s tonight on Friday, May the 3rd, as we get ever so closer to the second round of the NBA playoffs. Two elimination games tonight on Friday. I'm going to break them both down for you in full detail. Cavaliers, Magic, Clippers, Mavericks, both on ESPN National TV. I'm going to look at the side, the total, give some trends and angles, some situational analysis, also a deep dive into some player props. All that free for you here in just a moment. Hi, this is Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com, right back here on WagerTalk TV, breaking down your Friday night NBA slate for May the 3rd. Quick reminder, I'm doing daily videos for every game, every day of the playoffs. We've done every game so far. We will continue to do it. If you're finding it useful, please let me know. Comment below, and I'll keep these daily videos coming. Thumbs up, like is always greatly appreciated as well to keep this great content free here on Wager Talk TV. All right, first game goes at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Friday night. It is Game 6, Cleveland at Orlando. And, of course, this is the only series in Round 1 in which the home team has won every game. And the Magic are favorites, so the odds makers are saying we should see a Game 7, and we'll see what happens. Orlando got beat by double digits in both Games 1 and 2, and then, of course, they bounced back with an easy 38-point blowout in Game 3 and an impressive 23-point blowout in Game 4. And I say impressive because I thought Game 3 was going to go to the Magic. In fact, we've had a pretty good feel in this series. So far, we're 3-1 with best bets in this series so far for my clients at WagerTalk.com. I had Cleveland in Game 1 way back on Saturday, April the 20th, and the playoffs began. We stayed off Game 2, but I was glad to see Orlando lose by margin because it set up a super strong situation for both the first half and the full game, and we took advantage with that 2-0 sweep in Game 3. Stayed off Game 4, although I did lean Cleveland. I mentioned it here on the video. It wasn't quite strong enough to be a best bet. And early on, the Cavs were up, by 8 in the first quarter. I was thinking, darn, should have used it as a best bet. And then they ended up getting blown out. Orlando is a very young team. And young teams normally perform better at home than on the road. And that was definitely the case this season. In fact, if you look at the Magic's numbers overall, they're 31-12 at home this year versus just 18-26 on the road. And actually, this is a situation which makes a lot of sense because they're young, inexperienced with the playoffs especially, but they do use that crowd's home energy. Now, they almost pulled the upset in Game 5 the other night, and that's the only one we missed in this series, is I did think it was a good bounce-back spot. In fact, it was a good bounce-back spot for Cleveland historically. And don't forget, the Cavs were up by 10 after the first quarter ended, but they never had a bigger lead, and they allowed Orlando back in the first half and the full game. Felt like Cleveland was probably the right side in that game, and of course they did get the straight-up win, but unfortunately they did not get the cover on Game 5. So now we have a situation where we have the better team, Cleveland, in my opinion, looking to close out the series getting points, but once again, do we dare play a road team in a series that has seen the home team go a perfect 5-0? Now, there is the potential for Orlando to win but not cover. That's what Cleveland did in Game 5, and the Magic are currently a 4-point favorite. And I also want to point out some Game 6 trends and angles. I had so much info in yesterday's video on Thursday, I forgot to mention these, but my good colleague and friend Ralph Michaels at WagerTalk.com had a great chart that he did yesterday on both the Wager Talk Today show and on the NBA Tip-Off show. And don't forget, you can follow Ralph on Twitter as well, at CalSportsLV. Ralph mentioned that Game 6 home teams, a couple things I want to point out. First of all, home teams down 2-3 normally do not win Game 6, and the Magic, of course, fits that scenario. In fact, if you played against all home teams in Game 6 that are down 2-3 like the Magic for a couple decades now, you'd be 46-20 against the spread. Once again, playing against these teams, which would favor Cleveland's 46-20 ATS. Now, the sweet spot, though, is actually fading home dogs, and the Magic are not a home dog. They're a 4-point favorite. These Game 6 home teams down 2-3 as a favorite are 15-22 against the spread versus 5-24 as a dog. So, once again, dogs are the ones that really get crushed here, but I do think Cleveland's the better team. They are the higher seed. So, once again, historically speaking, home teams that are down 3-2 have gone just 39-68 straight up, and they've gone just 20-46 ATS entering this season. That's a courtesy, once again, of Ralph Michaels at WagerTalk.com. One other thing I want to point out, too, we've talked a lot about this for years. I've mentioned it briefly some this season when talking about the NBA playoffs, but elimination games, and we saw this, by the way, in the college conference tournaments, have a tendency to be lower scoring and unders often cash. Well, that's obviously been the case for decades now in Game 7s. NBA Game 7s are over a 60% play to the under on the blind. But don't forget about Game 6s as well. In fact, all Game 6s for the past decade or so have gone 65-40 under entering this season. Once again, just blindly playing the under in Game 6s entering this season, 65-40 to the under. That's over a 100-game sample, and it makes sense. When it's an elimination game, it's do or die. One team is trying to stay alive, the other is trying to move on. and that's why we get good defensive intensity. We've seen a lot of it early on in the playoffs. We saw a lot of unders cash after the All-Star break when teams started getting more serious in the second half of the season. Now, while that angle works, we don't just blindly play it because the odds makers are well aware of it, and we have seen some adjustment in both of these totals. In fact, this Cleveland-Orlando total opened 202.5 and quickly was bet down to the key number of 200. And, of course, these are two of the slower, better defensive teams in the playoffs, so it's hard to make a case for the over here, and the historical angles obviously do favor the under. With that said, let's look at the history of the 5 games so far. Game 1 had a 206 total, got to 180. Game 2, a 205 total, got to 182, both of those in Cleveland. Now, the last 3 games have seen totals of 202 to 203. Game 3 was a blowout. We can't take much away from blowouts. I'd recommend being careful when analyzing those. That landed 204. The next game was a semi-blowout as well, landed 201. And then, of course, the most recent game we probably can look at is that 207 the other night on Tuesday, in which the Cavs won 104-103. Digging into that box score, you'll see, though, that both teams shot well below their expected percentages overall. In fact, Cleveland was below average from 2-point range, Orlando below average from 3-point range, and yet they still got to 207. So the pace actually would favor more than 200 in this game, but once again, historical trends say Game 6s are usually lower scoring than your average game, so something to keep an eye on when handicapping this total for Friday night. All right, let's look at the player props here. One thing I like to do is always look at the most recent game and see guys that maybe overachieved or underachieved and see if we can get some value looking at that. Orlando's being led by their 2 youngsters. Once again, a very young team, a talented team, though. Piquero is 21 years old. Franz Wagner is 22 years old. I mentioned that's all Wagner would regress a bit, and that's exactly what he did in Game 5. I know many of you cashed with some under props with him. He was just 3 for 11 shooting, 1 for 6 from the field, but he still ended up with 14 points because he took so many shots. His total has now been bumped down from 20.5 back to 19.5, where it was in Game 4, where he had 34 points at home. Wagner, though, unfortunately has had 18 or less in 4 of these 5 playoff games. So although I expect a rebound from him, getting over the 19.5 still might be a little bit pricey, as he's only done it once in the 5 games in this series. Definitely not looking to fade Banchero anytime soon. He is one of those guys that just continues to get it done, and Orlando will have him continue to get it done. He had 39 points after just 9 in Game 4, and he's held now 21 or more in 3 of the other 4 games. He's had 24 or more in 3 of those other 4 games. His total's around 24 right now, so I think they have that one priced pretty accurately. Let's look at the Cleveland Cavaliers here. Donovan Mitchell had monster games 1 and 2. He was a guy I thought would start to play better. There was not much value in games 3 and 4, but I mentioned there might be some value in Game 5, and he got to 28 points despite shooting just 1 for 7 from 3-point range. So I do think there's still some upside with Mitchell. Keep in mind he had 30 and 23 in the first 2 games, and then just 13 and 18. In fact, after that 30-point Game 1, he stayed under 3 straight games until Game 5 the other night when he had 28. Got up and over 25.5. I think there's still room for him to get up and over 25.5 again here in Game 6, even on the road. He took a lot of shots. He is the key player, and after a little bit of a lull there for those 3 middle games, I think we get some value once again. I would look to play Mitchell over, would be the only recommendation I would have with him, as he is their key player. Another guy that had a monster game that you could say maybe is going to regress is the big youngster, the center, Evan Mobley, 7-footer. He had 14 points each of the last 2 games. And stayed under his total, 16 and 14.5. Now it's 15.5. And even though he had 14 points, he was 7 for 11 shooting, so he really isn't getting as many shots as you would think. I'd be careful with Mobley. He might be a guy that's due to regress a bit. I just think he's priced to perfection. 7 for 11 shooting, he still only had 14 points. Can't do much better than that. Other guys I'm looking at here, Okoro for the Cavaliers was just 2 for 10 shooting. He's had no points or 2 points in every playoff game. His total's at a half a basket. The fact that he was taking more shots, though, 10 field goal attempts. He had 8 points overall. I would look for him to actually, I'm sorry, that's a 3-point prop. I didn't think that made much sense. I'm looking at this live as I do this. Part of this video is basically handicapping as I'm talking to you here. That's 3-pointers made. I do not see a point prop on him, but that's something to keep an eye on, as he might have a decent game. Took a lot of shot attempts, got to 8 points despite hitting only 2 shots and only 2 threes. So once again, he could have some upside. Garland, 9 for 16, shooting 23 points. Probably can't play much better than that for Cleveland. His point total is looking like it's around 17.5. Keep in mind, he had 15 or less in each of the first 4 games and then had 23. I think Darius Garland actually could regress. That is one guy you might want to take a look at under total points. All right, that's a deep dive into your 7 o'clock Eastern game. Hoping you're finding this useful. We're going to get to your Clippers and Mavericks Game 6 in just a moment. Quick reminder, though, if you want my personal best bets, they are available each and every day on my page, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Off to a fantastic start. Since the playoffs began, both baseball and basketball have been over 70% winners, and we're going to keep it going into the second, third, fourth round NBA Finals. Plenty more to come. If you haven't gotten on board yet, as I'm bumping my camera here, I'm so excited. If you haven't gotten on board yet, I highly recommend checking out one of those best bet specials. I'm giving you promo codes in this videos each and every day that I'm not giving anywhere else. And that, of course, is promo code PLAYOFFS is still available. It's an instant $30 discount on the entire playoff package. Rest of this first round, the entire second round, third round, and the NBA Finals for just about $4 a day. It was $165. You can get it down to $135 with promo code PLAYOFFS at checkout. That's basketball. If you want all sports, baseball and basketball, you might want to consider the buy 7 days, get 11 days. That's a special that we're offering right now through the weekend. No promo code needed. You get a 7-day package for $99, the normal price, and we're adding 4 more bonus days. So you're getting 11 days total. Yes, that works out to just $9 a day, about $3 a play for baseball and basketball. Or how would you like to get a full year of football, baseball, and basketball? That's right, I said football. I know we're a few months away, but I'm always thinking football. How about the 1-year all access? I know some of you took advantage of this code yesterday when I mentioned it, and why not? It's the lowest possible price, the lowest possible entry point to get every personal best bet I release for the next 365 days and nights. But you got to have promo code SM365. That's SM365. That gets the 1-year all access down $800 instantly. Works out to just $3 a day. That's about $1 a play for every football, baseball, basketball, college, and pro for the next 365 days and nights. If you're interested in taking a serious investment approach, now is the time with that promo code SM365. Just select the 1-year all access. You get an instant $800 discount when you use that promo code at checkout, SM365 for the 1-year all access. Details are on my page right now, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com, and be sure to check out the daily free plays while you're there, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Get there quicker with shortcut WT.buzz/SM. All right, one down. Let's look at the late game now at 9:30 Eastern, Western Conference Game 6 between the Mavericks and the Clippers. We had a best bet winner on Wednesday night, part of that 2-0 sweep on Wednesday in all sports. The NBA component was the Mavericks, an easy, never in doubt 30-point blowout, although they were only up by 1 after the first quarter. You know, it wasn't a blowout early. They just really pulled ahead and wore LA down. LA, of course, remains without Kawhi Leonard, the most important player on this team. Yet, with that said, if you played on the Clippers without and played against them with, you'd be 4-1 in this series. In fact, Game 5 the other night was the first time the Clippers did not win in this series without Kawhi Leonard on the court. And I think it makes a little bit of sense because he was not healthy. He was actually hindering the team a bit. Now, big picture, I don't think they're going to win this series. I doubt they win the next 2 games. And as I mentioned earlier, Ralph Michaels, once again, at WagerTalk.com, heads the numbers. Home teams in general, well, not even home teams up 3-2 normally win the series. We all know that. But they're actually the play also in Game 6. Now, I mentioned how playing against teams down 3-2 has been very profitable at home. Well, what about teams that are up 3-2 at home? Well, Ralph has those numbers as well. In fact, home favorites that are up 3-2 are 21-8 in Game 6. So the math is saying that the Mavs should win, and obviously they're an 7.5 to 8-point favorite, so the odds makers are saying it as well. But more importantly, for our purpose, making money against the point spread, what do the spread records say? Well, they're 21-8 straight up with a 3-2 lead at home in Game 6, but they're only 15-14 against the spread. So it's basically a push. And I think this is a perfect example of that. The odds makers think the Mavericks are going to win, but they have really priced this high. This line was just 6 a few games ago. It was 3 at LA the other night. Now it's 7.5. And once again, the unders do cash in these games more times than not. In fact, home favorites that are up 3-2 like Dallas have gone under 19-8. 19-8 to the under. That's over 70% of the time. And home teams up 3-2 in general have gone under 28-12. So once again, the unders cash in these situations. By the way, when the team is down 3-2 like Orlando, the under is 37-28. So the under has been stronger in games in which home favorites have, or home teams in general have a 3-2 lead like Dallas. Once again, the under 28-12 over the last decade. courtesy once again of Ralph Michaels, the Stat Daddy Human Database. Find him at CalSportsLV on Twitter and at WagerTalk.com. Let's take a deep dive here and see if either one of those angles will probably hold up. First of all, the Clippers have been a tricky team to handicap. It's been bipolar to say the least. This is a Clippers team that won by 12 in Game 1 as a home dog. Keep in mind they were a dog in the series. That really hasn't changed much. Dallas then won the next 3 in a row, or 2 in a row, and then the Clippers got Game 4, of course, to make it 2-2. And the Clippers in Game 4 had a 21-point edge from 3, and that's one of the reasons I like the Mavericks in Game 5, is I didn't think that could continue, and it sure didn't. Dallas actually was the team that was plus 15 from three-point range in Game 5. Clippers did not shoot well at all, just 26% from 3 after hitting 62% from 3 on the road in Game 4. That's probably what it's going to come down to, because the Clippers also were 18 for 36 from 3 in Game number 1. So if you like the Clippers, you probably want to look at some correlated props, which would be three-pointers over. As the 2 games they've won in this series, they've gotten out fast with 14 three-pointers, 8 and 6 in the first quarter of those 2 games, and that's really been the difference. And that's usually what it takes for a shorthanded underdog to be competitive. I do think there's the potential Dallas could maybe overlook this game a little bit, and once again, Dallas winning straight up is a lot different than covering the 7.5. In fact, the money line is minus 330, so they have over a 75% chance of winning the game straight up, but the point spread is 7.5, the great equalizer. And once again, historically, these Game 6 teams do win when they're up 3-2 at home, but once again, they only cover about 50-50. So I think the point spread is priced where it should be, and the odds makers have done a good job negating some of the edges Dallas has. Injury report, Doncic is no longer listed, so he's getting healthier, and he is playing well. We look at that last game, 39 minutes. He took 26 shot attempts. Irving only took 14 shot attempts. It was a little less for him. So if you're looking for a bounce-back guy, I think Kyrie Irving could definitely be worth a look after just 14 points, because he was only 1 for 7 shooting, just 1 for 7 shooting from 3 in that last game when he ended up 14. And keep in mind, he had 40 points the game before that, 21, 23, and 31. His point total is at 24.5 here. He's gotten very close to that in every game but the last one, and he was so bad from three-point range. I look for him to have a bigger game here. So if you like Dallas, I think Kyrie Irving's going to play a large part in it over the 24.5 total points. Never looking to fade Doncic, but once again, there's not much value left with his props, as he's just been crushing it as he does each and every game. Another guy that might actually have a better game is P.J. Washington. He was only 1 for 7 shooting in the last game, ended up with only 2 points. He'd had 10 points or more in each of the first 4 games, and his point total is only 10.5. So once again, I do look for P.J. Washington to bounce back. I like him over the 10.5. He's had 10 or more each of the first 4 games until only 2 points, but once again, he got the shots. He was just 1 for 7, just didn't hit any of them. Really amazing that Dallas won by 30 with those 2 guys playing subpar. That's probably not a good sign for the Clippers' chance of winning the next 2 games straight up and capturing this series. As far as the LA Clippers, some guys we'll take a look at here. Zubac probably can't play much better. He was 7 for 8 from the field, ended up with 15 points. But he only played 25 minutes in the blowout. So once again, I'd be careful with that. He would have scored more had he played more minutes. But once again, he basically didn't miss a shot. Only missed 1 out of 8 shots and still only ended up with 15. Barely got over his total of 14.5. He's now priced at 13.5. Zubac has had 13 or more points in every one of the 5 games. So I do like him over 13.5. Once again, Zubac over 13.5. They have not really had an answer for him down low, and I think he's worth a look here in Game 6. Paul George is an interesting guy to talk about. We liked him a lot with that prop. Of course, the other night in Game 4 when he had 33 points, he was coming off the 7-point performance. While he regressed as expected, I mentioned that, had only 15 points, stayed well under 24.5. He's now priced at 24. So if you do like the Clippers or think they can be competitive here, I'm sure Paul George is going to have a bigger game after going just 4 for 13 the other night. And one other guy we got to talk about, definitely not a guy I'm a fan of, just because he plays no defense, think he's overrated, but that's James Harden. 2 for 12 shooting, only 7 points. He was 1 for 7 from 3. Be a fan of Harden or not, but when he doesn't have a good game, he usually looks to bounce back, and he's going to take a lot of shots. So I would only play his props over the 19.5. He did have 33 points the game before that. In fact, each of the first 4 games, he had 21 points or more until 7 points in Game 5, the blowout. So once again, I like him over the 19.5 to 20 points. Harden's had at least 21 or more in each of the first 4 games until a subpar outing when he went just 2 for 12. Harden over 19.5 to 20 points, I think, is worth a look as well in Game 6. All right, lots of information here. I'm excited the NBA playoffs continue. I've told you all year long heading into the NBA playoffs, this is the most profitable time of year. I've done this for 30 years now, and nothing has been a more consistent winner than the NBA postseason. In fact, it's not a surprise because I've ranked number one this whole season in the NBA, and I'm number one all time in units won in the NBA in the history of WagerTalk.com. And the playoffs are obviously a large part of that. We're off to a great start again this season. If you want to play consistently, look, we're not going to win every day. We occasionally have losses. That everyone knows that. But why pick and choose? In fact, heading into yesterday, I talked about this on the video. The first 12 days of the postseason, we had won 9 of the 12 days in baseball and basketball combined. We'd only had 3 losing days. Those 9 winning days, we'd gone 17-0. The point is, the losing days, yeah, we have some 0-2s, 0-3s, but the winning days far outnumber them. And it's such a textbook example this last couple of weeks. Don't try to pick and choose. If you've gotten one of those 3 losing days, you lost. If you're on any of the 9 winning days, you went 17-0 combined. So once again, it's a small sample size, but it's a good lesson because I know many of you kind of pick and choose daily spots, single plays. I highly recommend the direct investment approach, and that's why I'm giving you promo codes here on the video, because I know those of you that are watching this, especially this deep into the video, are serious about winning. So let me give you a chance to win with my best bets at a special price. The rest of the playoffs was $195. We brought it down to $165 this week. You can get it even lower with promo code playoffs down to $135. The rest of the postseason, the remainder of this first round, the whole second round, the Eastern Western Conference Finals, the NBA Finals as well, over a month and a half to go. Get it for just about $4 a day. When you select the NBA playoff packages on the right side, the basketball drop down, select NBA playoffs. The rest of it is $165, but when you check out, use promo code playoffs and get it for just $135. Special offer on this video only. If you want to try out a smaller package of all sports, baseball and basketball combined, don't forget about baseball, hitting over 70% since the NBA playoffs began on baseball best bets as well. And all sports, all access, 7-day is $99, but this weekend only, through this weekend, right now it's available. You get a bonus 4 days included for free. So you're getting 11 days for $99. That works out to just $9 a day. No promo code needed. It's on the main part of my page, right below my best bets and daily free play. Or the best offer, I'm bringing it back, 1 year all sports. I know many of you have already taken advantage yesterday when I first mentioned it. 1 year of all sports. That's NBA and college basketball, Major League Baseball, college and pro football as well for the next 365 days and nights. That's going to get you the rest of this baseball season, about a month into next year's. It's going to get you the entire NFL, entire college football season coming up this fall, the entire college basketball season next year, and basically the entire NBA season till the first round of the playoffs, and you'll get the rest of this year's playoffs to make up for it. It's a full 365 days and nights of all sports. Every personal best bet that I'm using, you get every day, emailed to you directly. You get instant alerts the minute they're released. I get many of these playoff games up the day before so you can shop around, get the best number, and you get analysis with the plays as well. It's a fantastic offer, and with promo code SM365, you get an instant $800 discount. Now, that's on the right side of my page. You'll see the All Sports drop-down menu. Take the 1 year Big Daddy and use promo code SM365 when you check out for an instant $800 discount. It works out to just $3 a day. That's just about $1 a play for the next 365 days and nights. So if you're betting more than $1 a play, you're going to make money over the next year. Once again, that promo code SM365 for a full year for just about $1 a play. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Get there quicker with shortcut WT.buzz/SM. Don't forget also daily free plays. Check out the daily free plays that are on my page right now at WagerTalk.com. Follow me as well on Twitter and X at Steve Merril, 2 R's, 1 L, at Steve Merril on Twitter and X. Also post free plays throughout the week on Instagram. Follow me on IG along with Wager Talk. And once again, I read all the comments. I reply back. I'm trying to reply back several hundred comments. You guys are testing me, and I love it. But I do read every single comment, and I reply back to probably 90% of them when I can. Please comment below. Let me know who you like on Friday night in these 2 games. Sides, totals. By the way, the public consensus looks like a little bit of a public lean to the Clippers and a little bit of a public lean to the under in the Orlando game. I always keep forgetting to mention the consensus. These aren't real. This isn't like NFL fade the public. These aren't real strong consensus numbers. But once again, some sentiment indicators I look at, a little bit of a lean to the Clippers, and also the Magic game under would be the public consensus in each game. Don't forget also, comment below and let me know about player props. Include some analysis. What are you looking at? Let's learn and earn and win together here, as I honestly believe we have the smartest and sharpest viewers right here on Wager Talk TV. Thumbs up, like, takes half a second. It's greatly appreciated. And if you haven't subscribed, please click subscribe. We are up over 151,000 viewers and subscribers here on Wager Talk TV. Join the family for free. Click subscribe and hit the bell as well if you want an instant alert when this video goes up each and every day here on this channel throughout the NBA playoffs. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the games, and I'll talk to you again soon right here on Wager Talk TV. And in the meantime, stay tuned for some great baseball and basketball previews coming up next.